just like to welcome all the new people. It's a great organization, and listen to the officer roles because they're great to have. The executive board is really fun to be on. But I'm sorry I missed the initiation last weekend. And some of you knew I was dealing with a death in the family, but I'm just happy to be back and to see everybody.
Alrighty, thanks, Dr. Lohman. Okay, so we're just going to start off with some quick announcements. Okay, so induction. Thank you, everyone. That was awesome. Lots of fun. Good food. It's nice seeing everyone and meeting your families. Yeah. Oh, awkward. Got it. Okay. So if you missed the induction ceremony, if you could see me after the meeting, I have your certificates and membership cards. Cool. And we had a little kink with the video recording for distance students, so we'll be sending out the PowerPoint instead of a link.
Yeah, that's my bad.
It's okay. Okay, really big exciting news. Next week is an event that we're putting on that we got a grant for from PHPSG. So we partnered with PTLG, which is like the equivalent of this organization, but for PT. And are putting on an event where an OT and a PT are speaking about their research in pediatrics. They both work at Creighton Pediatric Therapy. It's going to be really cool. There's going to be lots of food, but we do need you to RSVP. I sent out like a meeting request a long time ago about it, but it's next Tuesday at noon in the room right next door. Any questions about that? Okay, cool. Okay, so also we need to get nominations for Pi Theta Member of the Year. So probably an OT2 since OT1's just joined. Basically, this is just someone that you think is really committed to Pi Theta, comes to all the meetings, super supportive, someone that you think exemplifies the characteristics of Pi Theta. So we sent out a link for nominations for exec, and at the bottom of that is the nomination also for Pi Theta Member of the Year. So please do that. Cool. Awesome. Okay, AOTA conference, who's going? Woohoo, awesome, fun stuff. So Pi Theta has events at AOTA conference. The big one is just like a little networking reception, which is on Wednesday at 8:30. Yeah, we encourage you to go. It should be a cool opportunity. Also, at the AOTF booth, you can get a ribbon saying that you're a Pi Theta member, which is kind of cool. Okay, Gina.
Okay, so as you guys all know, the Distinguished Lecture is coming up right after spring break. There's the date and the time. It's going to be right after the OT Department Awards ceremony, and the QSOTA silent auction is happening at the same time. I have a sign up today to go to dinner with Dr. Gillen right after the lecture. There are about 15 spots for students. It's going to be at Mark's in Dundee. The price that we're required to meet, because we're sitting in a special room upstairs, is $17.50 per person. But this is a really great opportunity to get to chat with Dr. Gillen and learn a little bit more about him. This is only open to Pi Theta members. So I'll have the sign up here at the front afterwards. So come up and sign up for that.
Gina, is exec already included, or is that?
Not all of the execs are included. Okay. I'm on there, Dr. Lohman's on there, Dr. Gillen obviously, and Dr. Coppard, because she was the one who invited him. So, and I think Maxine's on there too. But yeah, anybody else, feel free to come up afterward and sign up. Everyone who's on my committee should have received an email, unless you're working like the tables for sign-in, or Becky, who's going to help drive him around. I'll email you guys closer to the actual day. And then if you know OTs in the community who would be interested in coming, continue to invite them. For OT2s going on fieldwork, I'm going to send you all an email if you're in the Omaha area to print out the flyer and bring it to your CI in 2 weeks.
I'm not sure he's agenda.
I'm sorry if I'm shooting.
Okay, so same as always, just a couple quick updates. Any interest in Journal Club, let me know. And Brooke will be doing hers today, I believe. And all it is just to do a brief summary of a peer-reviewed article, talk about the application to OT practice, and then the strengths and limitations of the article. And then just distance students, email me with any questions.
Okay, so next we're each going to talk about our positions on the exec board. OT1s this is really mainly for you because OT2s will be leaving and can really not hold an officer role. So yes, so how it works is we're going to each talk about our role, and then we send out a nomination link so you can nominate yourself or anyone you think would do well in that role. And then I'll send an email to whoever was nominated asking if you accept the nomination, and then at our next meeting, you'll come up and give like a 2-second spiel about why you want the role, and then we'll vote. Cool? Okay. So president, that's me. Basically, the main thing is running the meetings. Also, like the new member process, pretty much you take the role of overseeing that. Planning the induction ceremony is a big thing. Getting together both exec and chapter meetings. Also attending like various meetings for PHPSG. Yeah. And then various reports. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this role. It's helped me grow as a leader for sure. Talking in front of people. Yeah, just helping the exec team as needed. Making sure we're being cohesive. Gina?
So as vice president, I assist Maxine with anything that she needs, and I attend all the meetings. And the big thing is planning the distinguished lecturer event. It's a really great opportunity to get to know someone who's big in the OT field. And then if you have ever done like programming before, it goes really nicely with any of that experience, being able to gather nominations from students and faculty, contacting the lecturer, planning it all out, and then maybe you'll get to know them really well and get a personal email from someone like Dr. Gillen saying, "See you at AOTA conference." So, yeah.
Not to name drop, but
Okay, Katie.
Okay, so clearly that picture is not of me.
So that's my nephew, and he just turned 2, and
He's really cute, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Okay, so I'm the secretary, and I take minutes at like the exec meetings, which we have the week before this meeting with all of you guys. We meet, so I take minutes for that. I set up the recordings of all the meetings, so because we have distance students, you guys get those links after every meeting for the YouTube video so that they can watch the PowerPoint and listen to the lecture. So I set up like it moved away from like a Google Hangout, so now it's like a YouTube live stream, so yada yada yada. I do that, and then meeting reminders and requests. You guys have all got my emails, so you'd be doing that, and handle the listserv. Bottom line is, because of our lovely distance folks, it's a lot of technology. So if you're like not very tech savvy, I maybe wouldn't nominate yourself, but it's a lot of fun. So I've really gotten a lot better at the technology stuff, and really good way to build your communication skills. If you're good at keeping people in the loop and that sort of thing, then this is for you.
Alright, so I'm the treasurer, so basically I keep track of all the money that we spend, and I do the budget, and I coordinate with PHPSG on what funding we get each semester, and then in the spring when we have new members, I have to send all of our dues and documents and everything to nationals and be in contact with them on the whole new member process. And yep, complete end of semester reports, so it's still more budget stuff.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm the PHPSG rep. So I attend PHPSG meetings. So every other week, everyone from all the clubs meets and talks about what's going on, what events are going on. So sometimes they like ask you to speak about like what's going on in your club right now. And it's just little board meetings and you get a free lunch every time, so that's pretty cool. That's why I did it. Let's see. Oh, I plan and organize the PHPSG lunch fundraiser, which we've had one the last 2 years, so we'd be very, very, very lucky if we got one next year. And then I also plan trivia night, which I don't know if that's exactly the role of the PHPSG, but I think it kind of has been the last few years, so. But people help you.
Our delegated lunch person for like everything.
Yeah, delegated lunch person.
So I'm the distance liaison, and basically what I do is I'll communicate with and update the distance officers after every exec meeting, and then if they haven't had the chance to tune in with our chapter meetings, I'll tell them that too. The last couple of years they had been doing Google Hangouts like once or twice a semester between all the distance execs, but I talked to the Regis and the post-professional members, and they have been more interested in just keeping up to date with email, so it just kind of depends on who has that role next year, if they would rather do Google Hangouts or if they'd rather do emails. And then, as you know, as I've probably beat this to death, I am in charge of Journal Club. So basically just organizing it, advertising it at the meetings, trying to get people to present. The other thing that we've done a couple times is doing a distance or a research student spotlight, which is just a quick little couple-minute update at the chapter meetings about somebody that's doing some interesting research within the club or a distance student in the club. And then the other thing that I've been doing recently, especially with the help of Erin, is contacting any PTE alumni for having them come speak at events and meetings, and then we're working on something called the Alumni Inspirational Series and trying to build a mentorship program, so that is part of our role right now.
And I'm the Go representative, and my big role is to keep the Facebook page updated, adding the new members, updating when exec changes, and also getting Go very involved in this club. I know it's hard to come to campus sometimes, so just making sure that they're watching the recorded meetings and trying to get them involved as much as possible.
Okay, we do have a Regis rep who keeps in contact with Amanda, and her name is Kelsey. And basically, she is the liaison. Wow! Oh my gosh, she is the liaison between here and Regis. So it has to be a Regis student to do that. And then Erin.
Alright, well, I'm Erin and I'm a historian. So my main job is to just attend all of the events that Pi Theta puts on, take pictures and promote our honor society. I update the CU Involved website, send information to AOTA and the Scroll and Pen, which our new members will be featured in the next edition of Scroll and Pen, so woohoo. And then I also work on the Star Award, which is an award that we do each year to recognize OT2 who is not in Pi Theta but does really well inside and out of the classroom. And then, yeah, I've been helping Amanda with the Alumni Inspirational Series. So.
Okay, so that's us. It's really fun to be on exec. A lot of opportunities. Some specific things why you would join. Gaining leadership skills. Getting to interact with like a lot of different student organizations like PT, pharmacy. Like you really get to know them. Also, the AOTA Student Conclave. Usually an exec member will attend that from Pi Theta to represent us. You really get to know Dr. Lohman well, which is a pleasure. And you're just kind of known around the university, especially with professors. Like you're communicating with them, they know who you are. It's awesome. So we sent out the nomination link. So please fill that out if you're going to nominate yourself or anyone else by March 3rd. Cool. Okay, Journal Club.
Hi guys, I'm Brooke and I do Journal Club, and I did an article called Roles and Coping Strategies of Sons Caring for a Parent with Dementia. And I chose this article. This wasn't a requirement, but I just wanted to share because I think that one way to really do research is to make it meaningful to yourself, and that's something that caregiving for individuals is really important in my life. I work as a caregiver currently with Homestead, and then I wanted to share, my cousin got married recently, and so this is my entire family, and my mom is the only girl of there's 3 brothers, and so primarily her brothers actually take care of my grandparents, which are on the side over here, and so I thought it was really interesting that there's not much literature about sons caring for their parents, so I just wanted to share that. Okay, so this is the key points of the article, and as you can see, you can read kind of the gist of it, but basically the investigators wanted to determine if there was many sons caring for their parents and if they cared for them differently than their daughters would care for them. And so obviously the statistic here talking about 70% live in community and require assistance, that's a huge amount of individuals, and so this is obviously a need in, I think, our society. And the research participants are 20, and the one thing I thought was really interesting was there's one son-in-law, which I just thought that was interesting as well. The primary findings of the study were these themes and sub-themes. And you can kind of read a little bit, but the interesting ideas or notions that came out of this was that the primary roles were care manager or financial support. There, I think, only 4 of the 20 stated that they provided personal cares, which is quite a small amount of the participants. And they talked a lot about the perceived gender roles played a big role in that. And then this kind of went into the managing of care. There's more team-based care for their parents than there was just one individual caring when the sons were involved. A lot of them, they said that their sisters or wives did the more personal cares, and then they were more of the administrators, actually what they called themselves frequently. And then the other thing that was really interesting was that 11 participants indicated they had negative emotional consequences to the caregiving role for their parents, and only 4 participants described positive impacts for providing care for their parents, which I think is pretty astounding to myself. But obviously there's different needs that these individuals, and they discussed as well in the coping aspect that sons have with caring for their parents. They want more information, and they want more research and more guidance than caregiving than the women or daughters want. They also are a little bit more, they take a step back in the care sons do, and so a lot of times they say that they are not given the support that they're needed as sons, which is something I think that can apply to the negative impact. And then this kind of goes into, I'll go down to the last one, the application, sorry, and then I'll go back to limitations. The application OT is just that we really need to consider that all of the children or caregivers need to be involved. We don't need to just assume that because they have a daughter that the daughter is going to be the caregiver. We need to look at the entire family as a system. Another thing was integrating a team-based approach to support these caregivers, because as the article found that typically if a son was involved as a primary caregiver, they were working with their wife or their sister, and so it was a lot more team-based, which is how we work in healthcare, and so I think this is something that we can apply to our education and support for family members. And then I kind of discussed a little bit about how sons, they like the more information and they want the content more than just the assistance. And so I think we can just give them what they need to do and tell them what they need to do and provide them with the information is more beneficial for their ability to care for their parents. And then I'll go back to limitations. So the limitations for this article were that the investigators were leaders of a support group, and the support group is where they recruited their participants, and so that kind of limited, I think, their sample. It made some of their information not generalizable to the larger population, and these individuals were already getting a support through the support group, and so that kind of limits, I think, some of the assumptions that can be made from the article. They also, the participants had different stages of dementia, and there was only one interview, and so there was no information if later stages of dementia there were more negative impacts, or if earlier stages there were positive. There was no analysis of the quality of information. It was just kind of the quantity. And then also the last one was that it was a self-report, and so the family members were not questioned to to agree or disagree with the son's reports, which can kind of limit the information provided. And that's it.
Here. There's a bunch more pizza and cake if you guys want more.
Cool. Okay, so next we have our guest speakers, Kristen and Ramey, who are OT3s. Yes, you're welcome. And they are here to talk to us about being published, something really cool and exciting. Okay, here we are.
Hello, everyone. I am Ramey, Sieck, and I'm Kristen, Stupica. And we co-authored a article with Kate Stoffer and Laura Minthorn-Brown, who are also OT3s, with our mentor, Dr. Lohman. We are about to be published in Physical Therapy and Occupational Therapy and Geriatrics journal, which is really exciting. Our article title is called Awareness of Medicare Policy Changes, Occupational Therapists, Perceptions and Implications for Practice. Kind of a mouthful, but as you probably are learning or have learned or will learn, Medicare is this constantly changing system, so we thought that this research was a really important topic, really up and coming topic that we thought would be important to occupational therapy practice. The purpose of our study was to identify how occupational therapists learn about Medicare policy changes and then how they interpret and use those changes in practice. So basically twofold, how they stay informed and then how they interpret and utilize that information for patient care. So just giving you a little background, we used triangulation of our data. So we did a survey, a focus group, and asked inclusion criteria included experience in at least 5 to 10 years of experience in a skilled nursing facility, and then also working with Medicare patients, so that we make sure that we had that specific inclusion criteria for our study. And overall, with our research, we basically found that therapists really rely heavily on their companies to provide them with basic need-to-know information about Medicare policy changes. And we determined some barriers to getting, broadening their knowledge and deepening this knowledge that they have about Medicare policy changes, things like time constraints, just the fact that, you know, therapists felt that they had enough information. There's different interpretations by different intermediaries, just all those things that we kind of compiled together in our research as barriers. Overall, this research for us, we think it provides a really good basis of examination for continuing research, because we did have a very small sample size. We had 11 occupational therapists, and this is a qualitative study, so we had 11. This is a very small sample size, but it provides us with a really good basis to kind of explore more about how therapists are being informed about this policy. What are improvements that you can make? How could you generalize this information to other areas of practice, areas that aren't contracted skilled nursing facilities? We can really expand from there.
Okay, so a lot of you guys, first years are going through building your proposal, and then second years you guys are kind of finishing it up. So I'm going to talk to you guys more about the process that we went through. So starting off, we had lots and lots and lots of meetings with our mentor and with each other, spending countless hours in the library, just combing through articles, building up our proposal, figuring out exactly what we needed to include, what we needed to look at, and then finally put it all together and submitted it to Creighton Review Board. And the good thing is, all those hours we spent in the library let us be accepted right away, so we didn't have to make any corrections to our proposal. And then, that was a lot of help with Dr. Lumen, so we can't take all the credit. And then after that, we then submitted to IRB, and with IRB, a lot of second years are realizing that each thing you're going to use with your participants, you have to submit to be approved. Each survey we submitted, each focus question we wanted to use, had to keep being approved, having to submit, corrections had to be accepted, edits had to be accepted. And so finally, we got to gather our data and compile our paper. So for second years, the good thing was, since we were so detailed in our proposal, first years up in hand, we were able to fill everything in and just add what we needed, look back to where we needed. I think one of the big things we got stuck on was our inclusion data. We forgot what we were going to use as our inclusion data. So we went back to our proposal, found out that was 5 to 10 years of experience, and figured that question out. And then when we were trying to figure out which journal we wanted to submit to, we used a lot of the staff for resources, getting their perspective. We used our data and we said, hey, which one do you think might work for us? They were very helpful in helping us find an article, and then we did more research and figured out the requirements of the journals. So if you guys are thinking early on you want to submit, go ahead and start looking at journals out there and looking at the requirements too. And then some advice for publishing. Have a time log. You guys develop this time log in all your assignments, but keep to that time log. Don't push something back. Don't come back to something. Always stick to that log and always be accountable for your portion of your project. I think in our group, each person was really responsible, and each person felt that they needed to be accountable for their portion, especially with their quality of work. So we pushed hard and made lots of edits, really wanted to fine tune our project so we would be successful. So go ahead, criticize or critique, constructive criticism, critique your partners, your peers with love. And then we kept in constant contact with our group. When we had a question, we could relay it back to somebody. And we also kept in constant contact with our mentor. And that helped a lot with figuring out questions or knowing where to go to next. And I think that would, you have any more?
See, I have one. Let's see, I don't know if you covered this. One thing is, from the beginning, I think what made our group successful with actually completing this project is that from the beginning, we had an option to complete this research for research class or to complete it with the goal of being published. We kind of all sat down with our mentor from the beginning and we said, you know, what's the point of doing all this if we're not going to go above and beyond and really make it quality, great work. So I think that's what you have to decide on your research projects is, are you going to do it for just the grade in the class, or do you want to really be a part of scholarship? And especially being part of Pi Theta, I think being a part of scholarship and contributing to occupational therapy, evidence-based practice, I think, is the mindset to have from the very beginning. Because then we realized that it wasn't just something that we could put off on to the side and say, oh, we can do that later, we can do that later. It was a priority among all of our other classes. I think that helped us a lot. That's what I've got. Do you have any questions for us?
After you submitted to the journal to be published, how long did it take, and how many times did you hear back from the journal?
Actually, it took quite a while, which we were surprised about. It took, let's see, we submitted in June, and I believe that I didn't hear contact with them until, I think it was October that I emailed them and I was like, excuse me, did you like forget about us or what's going on? And then I think it was maybe November, was it November that we actually got feedback. And then we said we had revisions to be made. We made those revisions. You have a timeline for those revisions, which we felt, get them out of the way right away. And then now we are continuing to get, drafts or proofs of our document that we keep revising. And I do keep finding edits to be made that we are.
I just want to add that the reason it took so long is that they had an editorial change.
Oh, yes.
We didn't know that.
Yes.
And the other thing that I never told you guys is that the corrections they brought to you were so minimal, I knew you were getting published. I mean, usually, there's like, I'm an editor too for a journal, but if it's like minimal, it's like in the door. It's like, they had like 2 sentences, one grammatically right, or something really silly, and easy to fix. But there's moderate levels where it's a lot of corrections and it's ready, but if you do all this, and then there's maximal, maybe we'll publish, but it was minimal. It was in the door, I didn't want to tell you.
What's it like making your edits and stuff when you're all on level 2s, not like together?
Can you guys repeat the question?
She was wondering what it's like making edits when we've been on level 2s, and we're not all together. So, for our group, we've had one person that kind of has taken the lead on being the contact person and doing all that. I have taken on the role of, making the edits, getting the communication, making the edits, but I'm sending tons of emails. Every time I get any information, I send tons of emails just to clarify things. I always send, hey, I changed this. Do you guys have a better idea how to change this? This is completed. Please do a final edit to make sure I haven't missed anything, and then I send it all to the group to make sure that we're all included, all contributing that way.
What was the index rating of your journal, and how many times did they submit articles a year? Or accept articles? I remember that.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't remember either. Can you repeat the question?
OT
Oh,
world,
sorry.
the highest index rating is a jot, and this is a decent enough journal for OT, and it is competitive.
Yeah, just repeat it.
She asked what the index rating of the journal was, and Dr. Lohman just clarified that AJOT is the highest of the OT publication world, and that PT and OT and geriatrics is up there. Anyone else?
How did you guys decide your authorship?
We felt like one particular editor like stood out and really did that extra and beyond. So we decided like wanted to like let her have the first role, and then the rest of us were just happy to publish. So we were just like, fill us in. We all were happy to publish. It was just we wanted to let the person that put all that work and all that time in.
I also want to mention, this was the first time in several years that a book has published. It's not like every year we get this to happen. So it's really, I mean, it went to the dean and everybody. I don't know.
You guys decided to publish and after the student in the class history, what kind of different steps did you take to assure you could get to that level? And that,
She asked what were the different steps between all the differences between publishing and then just the assignment for the class. And if I remember correctly, the class had a lot more requirements than the publishing journal did. So that's maybe a good thing to hear. But then the journal had their own requirements that weren't necessarily exactly what Creighton wanted.
I think it's helpful if you do know which article you are publishing and you are kind of hoping to publish in, to always have the author guidelines of that journal open on the side, so that when you're doing it for your class, you can make it cohesive. You can make it fit both, and then also make it fit for the class. Like, for example, I believe PT and OT and geriatrics, they didn't technically specify like APA style or anything like that, so we were kind of confused. You know, for class we want to use APA, but we wanted to make sure we had it right for the journal. We contacted the journal and kind of got that straightened out so that we could use APA. Kind of straightening all those things out right at the beginning is the way to go, I think.
I just want to tell the OT ones that we have Dr. Coppert as our professor now, which they didn't. And Dr. Coppert is having all the groups find a journal article ahead of or a journal that you would want to submit to, and you have to go by those requirements when you're making your manuscript. So I think it becomes a lot easier to submit in the end when you're looking at the journal the whole semester when you're writing your manuscript. And also, like my group, when we were OT1, we were like, we don't care about publishing, like, whatever. But now that we've done all the work and we got really awesome results, so now we're like, heck yeah, we want to publish. So we're really going through the steps, and it's nice having Dr. Copper make us do it like we're going to submit the manuscript. And so I just wanted to make that comment because I don't think that they did that.
No, that's good.
That would have been very helpful.
Yeah.
You guys had mentioned you had to get all your surveys and questionnaires approved. How long did it take to receive the
It was actually pretty quickly for us. We submitted and then turned around. We were also in contact with the IRB a lot. We would call them almost every time we met just to clarify something, or we have edits to the survey. How do we submit that? So.
It was, I would say, there were some days when it got approved in 2 days or a day. It just really depended on what, I don't know. I don't know what it depended on. I don't know either. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that was was really cool. Thank you again, girls. Okay, so just a quick recap. Nominations for both officer positions and Pi Theta Member of the Year are due by March 3rd. You can nominate yourself or someone else, and we sent out the nomination link, so you should already have that. And our next meeting is on March 15th, right here at noon. Yes, also don't forget to sign up for dinner with Dr. Gillen, and we have cake and pizza left. And
Take all
also,
the
if you
cake.
missed the induction ceremony, I have your certificates.